Hey Bayek, it's me Ian. And in today's video, well, I'm continuing my look at the X-Files, the second season. And this is episode 14. Die Hand, Die Verletzt from 1995. Now previously, we had Irresistible, and then the next one will be Fresh Bones. Now, this was transmitted on the Fox network on the 27th of January, 1995. And on the 27th of November, 1995, in the UK, on BBC Two. Now, this is written by Glenn Morgan and James Wang, who write such brilliant stories, absolutely brilliant. Now, after this story, they went off to be involved in the creation and the filming and organising and all that sort of stuff for Space Above and Beyond, which unfortunately only had one season. That was 1995 to 1996. It's actually a very underrated series, or it's got a lot of cult following now. It should have gone on longer, but it didn't. However, those two writers, they do return to the X-Files, and in the fourth season, they're back. So they're so talented that the X-Files was a natural place for them, I think. Their style, the way they were able to do the scripts, it was absolutely fantastic. Now, this is directed by Kim Manners. Now, this is Kim Manners' debut on the X-Files as a director. And guess what? He became massively involved in the X-Files. He directed 52 episodes. So that was from 1995 to 2002. That is a hell of a lot of episodes, and that is a massive amount of involvement in the X-Files. So this, as a director, is his debut, and it's brilliant again. As I think all the directors seem to choose well with the directors. The locations again, and particularly this episode, it's got a lot of darkness in this episode. So a director has to be able to handle all that. And it does it brilliantly. The contrast, with the lighting and everything that is done for the camera, it's brilliant, and he's directing all this. It's great. Now, we describe this as a Monster of the Week story. So there's none of the conspiracy. We've had a bit of a gap, haven't we, about the conspiracy, but it will be back. And then the music was by Mark Snow, as usual. Always brilliant music. So let's get through the cast. We've got David Duchovny, who plays Fox Mulder. Though he doesn't like being called Fox, does he? Gillian Anderson plays Dana Scully. Then we have Dan Butler, who plays Jim Osbury. Now, he's an interesting set of films. He was in Manhunter 1986, which is a great film, which introduces us to Hannibal Lecter, but it's not played by Anthony Hopkins. It's played by Brian Cox. I know, I could go on about that film. I really love that film. And then, of course, he appears in the Silence of the Lambs. I think it's a different character. 1991. And of course, that's got Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. So there we are. It was in a film called The Fan, 1996, which I think's got De Niro in that one. Enemy of the State, 1998. It's got Crazy Stupid Love, 2011. And Blonde, which is 2022, which I know is about Marilyn Monroe. That's received quite mixed reviews, as I remember, but yeah, was involved in that one. Then we've got Susan Blumert, who plays Phyllis H. Paddock, this mysterious character in many ways, yes. Now, she was in Pet Sematary. That's 1989. She was in Edward Scissorhands, wow, 1990. And she was in For Love or Money, 1993. And Mouse Hunt, 1997. That's that Lee Evans film. She was in a very important film, United, 93, 2006, about 9/11. And she was also in The Double, 2013. And then John Wick's Chapter 3, Parabellum, or Parabellum probably. That was 2019. So I'd say that's a pretty big film as well, the John Wick's films. So just a few of the films that she's involved in. Then we've got Heather McComb, who plays Shannon Osbury. There's only one film that I just had to pick out. Not really a lot of sort of films. And this, I think, was probably a direct to DVD one. She was in Shark Swarm, 2008. You know, people love these shark movies. Yeah, she was in one of them. But it's full of TV series and TV films. That's her career. So those are the main actors in this. The locations are, as usual, in Burnaby, British Columbia, Canada. Always looks fantastic, the X-Files, because of those locations. So what is this story about? Well, it's Mulder and Scully. They're called in as usual, you know, because in Milford Haven, New Hampshire, there's been a death of a teenager who appears to have died in an occult ritual. Yeah, we see that definitely right at the beginning. We also see a group of like high school parents or people who run the school, you know, these kind of people. We see them, and we see from their meeting that they're having that they are in fact Satanists. Yes, and they've been a bit lapsed, I think, in their worship. They're just going along, and these events kind of make them come back to what they're doing, their worship of the devil and all that stuff. And then when Mulder and Scully are there, they also meet this teacher. She's just arrived, this teacher, and Mrs. Paddock, or mysterious Paddock, that's what you call her. And the truth is, she is not what she seems, and we get that impression all the way through. We see her. It's very interesting character, and that gives you an idea of the story. So the story unfolds as it would do, and twists and turns that we get. The script is excellent, I think, as well, because and the direction, you get this real dark tale. yeah, there is even elements of humor in it as well. So we've got a dark tale with some elements of humor. Um, and it's the way it's atmosphere we get of the dark elements of the story are excellent. It's interesting. There's a few little references. The school is called Crowley High School, and of course, it's named after the occultist Aleister Crowley, who had a bad reputation, sort of 20s and 30s as a British occultist who was called by the Daily Express the Beast and all that. He enjoyed all that, very unpopular. There was a campaign against him. Really, he was a pretty not a very nice character. Anyhow, all his trappings. He was an addict, but and I could even say he was a blooming paedophile as well. He's got a very interesting reputation amongst people who follow occultism, but he's a pretty awful person. And really was. Now, also, Paddock, this is another interesting reference. It's actually from the first scene of one of the witches in Macbeth, who calls up and mentions the toad demon, Paddock. There we are. So we've got a bit of Shakespeare thrown in. Now, this story, I think, also is seen many ways as a parody of organized religion, where people go through all the rituals, do all the things, and it's just kind of paying lip service to it. They're just going through the motions. And this is showing you that the consequences in many ways when something wakes them up from what they're doing and makes them perhaps get a bit more involved in what they're doing in their faith, more of an understanding of that faith, of organized religions needing a bit of a kick up the backside, if you want to call it like that. And I think that is interesting because we get that. So you get that parody element there, but it plays out in a very interesting way. And this is, if you look at the ratings of this episode in all the X-Files episodes, it's rated very highly. It's thought of as really well. Certainly not a weak episode, and I can see why, because the way it's done and that. As usual, we get wonderful scenes always between Mulder and Scully, and they're very much in peril right at the end. Yeah, very much so. It's another brilliant episode. It's and performances by all the actors. Wonderful story. I just think it's great. As this season is just, it's continuing what was good about the first season is continuing into the second season, and here we are now. This was episode 14, and it's really in its stride. It's brilliant, absolutely wonderful. So before I go, I'd just like to show you, as I normally do, the small box set, which I love, which goes in the big box of all the X-Files seasons. Absolutely love it. These box sets. Great box set. The big one. Big box set. But anyhow, there we are. I've finished. I could go on a bit more, but I might not do. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and we'll let you know when I put out these videos. And if you want to see past reviews of all the X-Files episodes, please look in the playlist and you'll see all the reviews I've done. But you also, if you look in the playlist, you see all the other things that I do, reviewing a lot of films, TV shows, and some music, all that kind of thing. Now, if you like this particular video, please give this video a like. It gets it onto YouTube, so hopefully other people might enjoy what I do, or perhaps they won't. Also, if you've got any comments, please put your comments down. I love to read your comments, and I'll always reply to them. And that's it. So, all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.